Hi, Kevin and Anne. Thanks so much for coming in to meet with me today. Welcome back from your honeymoon in Thailand. The pictures looked amazing. So I understand Kevin told me that you were in a motorcycle accident. You've got your jaws wired shut, I see. And I know that you've got your meeting with your doctor later today to get that taken care of. So we have about 10 minutes, and I'll make sure to be cognizant of your time. And I'm sure you're looking forward to getting that taken care of. So I understand you won't be able to talk at all, but I thought what we could do is go through some of the highlights of some of the items that I think that need to be addressed before our next meeting. And then I'll go ahead and give you some homework for some additional information that I need to complete your plan. And then your next meeting that we have, we'll go ahead and run through all of the scenarios with you at that time. So, first of all, I know that you got to see the plan a little in advance via email, hopefully not while you're on your honeymoon. And as you can see, I'm sure you are happy to see that you are able to go ahead and retire this year. Congratulations. It's always nice to know that when you work so hard and save so much, that you're able to take that time and enjoy it. And I'm glad that you're able to go and travel. We look forward to working with you in your retirement to make sure that your portfolios are performing in the way that they need to so that you can go travel. One of the things that I did take a look at, because you are going to be retiring this year, is on the debt side. We always like to look at freeing up any kind of debt that isn't a good debt, so to speak. So I think we talked about this a little bit before, but a good debt is like your mortgage because you're able to take the interest as a tax deduction. These credit cards that are on here, I know I don't have the statements, but the balance is total $60,000. And I understand, that you guys had put a lot on during the wedding and the honeymoon. I do think it would make sense to just pay that off in full. Typically, credit cards have a very high interest rate, and there's really no write-off or anything for that, so it's not even a good form of debt. The emergency fund that you have, the money market savings fund, it's actually at a balance of $120,000 according to this last statement that you gave me. That's earning next to nothing. So my recommendation will be to go ahead and take $60,000 out of that, pay off the credit cards in full. This way you don't have to worry about it. And then that'll free up that cash flow for you. You'll still have another $60,000 that's remaining there, and that's what you wanted for your emergency fund. I think that'll be sufficient, and that'll take care of that debt, and then also have that emergency fund set aside for your retirement. The second thing that I wanted to make sure that you took a look at, so Kevin's turning 62, or actually, you are 62. So Kevin's 62 this year, and in looking at your defined benefit plan, which, by the way, that's really awesome that your employer has that. They're very rare anymore, and it's a wonderful perk of working somewhere for so long. So with his plan, 62 is the max age at which anything is going to change on that. So it does make sense to go ahead and do something with that now, so you can kind of control what you're able to do with it. You have the three options, which I know that you had given me in the plan. So the first option would obviously be to annuitize the dollar amount that you get over Kevin's lifetime. What would happen there is he would get a higher payout versus annuitizing it over both of your lifetimes. So over Kevin's lifetime, he would get $62,500 a year. But if something were to happen to him, that's it, nothing else. The money just goes away. Nothing goes to Anne. So the second option would be to annuitize it over both of your lifetimes, a joint and survivor annuity option. If you were to do that, Kevin would get a reduced benefit during his lifetime, which would be $50,000. And then if something were to happen to Kevin, then the survivor, so Anne, you would get half of that, which would be $25,000. So the risk in both of these options is that you don't live as long. So if you don't live as long, then the kids aren't getting the money. That's it, it's gone. Especially with the first option, if Kevin dies more soon than what we think, or even before Anne at any point, that income is went away. So the third option would be to go ahead and take it in a lump sum. If you do that, you would be getting $1.2 million straight out, and then you could choose the way that you want to invest that. What I would recommend is taking that lump sum and transferring it directly into a traditional IRA. By doing that, you don't have to worry about paying any sort of tax on it. The only time you would pay tax is when you're withdrawing the money. You would pay ordinary income tax on it, just like your other traditional IRA. So you'd be able to control when you're taking the money out, therefore when you're paying taxes. And then you would also be able to control the way that the money is being invested. So this way we can complement the rest of your portfolio. And if something, God forbid, happened to you and both of you died, that money would be there to go through your estate plan to the kids or whomever it was that you wanted it to go to. Okay, so that's something that I would recommend, and I did put together an asset allocation that we can talk about in the packet at our next meeting, but that is something that Kevin will want to talk to his employer about to make sure that they understand that this is what his option is going to be for this year, because there's no sense in leaving it where it is. And then finally, one of the most important things that I want to talk to you about is your estate plan. Obviously, when you set up your estate plan, you didn't even know each other at the time. So Kevin, your estate was set to go to your sons, and then Anne, your estate was set to go to your aunt. And from our conversations, it sounds like you obviously want to include each other in your estate plan. Right now, if something were to happen to you, it would go off of your beneficiary designations. So on your joint accounts, for example, the house is in joint name, it would automatically transfer to the other spouse. You would get a step up in the tax cost basis of half. But the problem is on any of the accounts where it's set up to go through probate and through the estate, that's going to go to, in Kevin's case, his sons, and then in Anne, in your case, your aunt. So we want to make sure that that is all flowing the way that you need it to. What I would recommend to you is to look at perhaps a trust option. A lot of times with mixed marriages where you have children from a prior marriage, it's important to make sure that everybody's taken care of and that everyone feels that they're treated fairly. And Anne, I know you and I have spoke, and you don't want them to think that there's any sense of impropriety, that you're not doing something in their best interest. So one of the things that we had talked about was perhaps setting up what's called a Q-tip trust. And with this particular kind of trust, what it would do is Anne would be the primary beneficiary during her lifetime of the trust. She would be able to, and you can set it up with as much freedom as you want. So what I would recommend if you want the maximum amount of freedom is that you set it up where she's able to take for health, education, maintenance, support, and then even 5% to like a 5x5, which is 5% of whatever the market value is in that trust, or $5,000, whichever is greater. This will give her the ultimate flexibility to take whatever she needs to for her living expenses. Then what you would do, the remainder beneficiaries, which would be the beneficiaries after something were to happen to Anne, would be the two boys. And what you could do is set it up so that after Anne passes away, if you feel that they're responsible and able to handle it, that it would get split 50-50 and go to each of them. Now, because you have grandchildren, what I would recommend doing is setting it up with a per stirpes stipulation. So what that would mean is if your son were, God forbid, to predecease, then they would automatically go to the grandchildren of your grandchildren, your son's children. With that, I would definitely recommend setting aside certain ages at which they were able to attain the money. In this state, at the age of majority, which is 18, they would be able to access the money right away. And I don't know about you, but when I was 18, I don't know that anybody would have wanted me to have that money immediately. So what I would recommend for them is setting up certain ages, whether it's 30, 21, 35, however you want to do that, where they can get a certain percentage of the trust. And once again, you can set up those ascertainable standards, as we call it, where they would be able to request money for health, education, maintenance, support. The other thing that I would recommend taking a look at is, because Anne is concerned about being the one to kind of be in control of the money, or the kids thinking that she has power over it, and we don't want anyone to feel hurt or that they're being slighted, I would recommend setting up the bank as a corporate trustee. And by doing that, then you have a completely unbiased third party who's in charge of following out whatever the wishes are that you have in the trust to the letter of the law. That takes the liability off of Anne and also makes sure that everybody is treated fairly. What I've done today is I put together a list of some attorneys that we would recommend that we work closely with, that I think also would work really well with you and be very beneficial in this situation. I'd be more than happy to set up an introduction, and then we can go from there. So thank you so much for your time, and good luck with your doctor's appointment. We'll see you soon.